Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Catherine Gutierrez. I'm the CEO of Aptus Financial, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Before I get into the meat of the presentation, I want to just start by saying who we are and why we're here. So I'm the CEO of Aptus Financial, which is a flat fee financial planning company. And most importantly, it's a company that doesn't have anything for sale. So we don't sell insurance, we don't sell any kind of investment products. We just give advice. And the reason that's really important is we have partnered with Baptist Health, and they are paying for us to come and give you non-conflicted advice on your student loans. So we don't represent the government, we don't represent student loan companies or anything like that. We are simply student loan experts who can help you navigate the complexity of this system so that hopefully one day, maybe for some of you, that could be today, if you do this correctly in this process that I'm going to be explaining, that you could eventually get forgiveness on your student loans. So today, we're going to be going through a little bit about how the PSLF, as we call the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, how the PSLF program works overall, and the reason that we are here in a little bit more urgent manner with what's called the Limited Waiver that I'll be explaining to you that will be expiring in October. And then I'm going to walk through what your specific track, the action plan that you received needs to do to take full advantage of this waiver and start getting credits towards your 120 payments towards PSLF. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay. So the first thing I want to acknowledge is just how confusing all of this is. It is amazing the amount of jargon that is thrown at people, which I think is why a lot of folks who are well-meaning, who really want to manage their student loans well, they take one look at all of these crazy words and they say, you know what, I want to do this, but not today. And so that is our job, is to help you do this today, to not be overwhelmed, so that you can take action regardless of how confusing all of this is. So we understand it. We understand what these words are. We understand the technicalities of the program. We will be here to help you navigate through it. But that being said, we need you to really pay close attention to all of the details that we are telling you to do, because every single little detail is there on purpose, and it's there to make sure that you are successful. It's important to point out that in 2018, more than 97% of people were denied PSLF forgiveness who thought they were going to get it. And that is all because they missed out on these technicalities. So we don't want to waste your time, and we want to make sure that you are set up to be able to benefit. Okay, so I know a lot of you have probably adopted an identity, which Leo is helping us to diagnose, that maybe you're going to have student loans the rest of your lives. And we have seen a lot of loan files with very, very large loan balances. We get it. You may think you will never have this paid off. And the reason this program is so important, it is because the federal government recognizes that a lot of public servants do go into public service and have a lot of student loan debt that make them very, very qualified for what they do, but the salary just doesn't reflect the investment in education. And so remember, you could have, in one case, like someone I worked with several months ago who she had $80,000 in student loan debt, but her payments were only $30 a month. And in 2 years, she will have what is likely more than $80,000 actually disappear, go away in loan forgiveness, simply because her payments are so low that they don't even keep up with the interest accumulating on her loan. This is how it works. So I want you to keep an open mind here that you may be able to have a future. We expect you to have a future where you don't have student loan debt, and our goal is to get you as close to that as possible, as quickly as possible. So I'm going to read this slide very, very carefully, because this is how the PSLF program works, and I really want you to be able to commit this to memory. So this program allows borrowers to cancel their remaining balance on their direct loans. I'm pointing out that word, direct loans, after working full-time at a public service organization like Baptist Health for at least 10 years while making 120 qualifying monthly payments effective October of 2007. So basically that's the earliest you could start for getting these credits. Most importantly, the forgiven amount is not taxed. So if you get $80,000 forgiven, you pay no taxes on that. That is huge. So first of all, let's get on the same page on jargon. When we are talking about this program, we are only talking about federal loans. Now, you might be confused by what kind of loan you have and who is servicing the loan. That's a totally different deal. So you could have federal loans that are serviced by Nelnet, by Great Lakes, by MOHELA, by Navient. You could have any of those. Those are simply servicers that are acting on behalf of the federal government to help collect payments, to keep up with your documents, to help you with PSLF. That's what they're doing. So that doesn't really impact what kind of loan you have. You have private loans that are not eligible. So these are loans that maybe had been refinanced from a federal loan to the private sector, maybe to get a lower interest rate. These are loans that might have been originally borrowed by the private sector, not with the federal program. These will not be eligible for PSLF. You have different repayment programs, and namely the ones that I want to point out that are going to be eligible for PSLF are going to be the income-driven repayment plans, things like income-based repayment, IBR, pay as you earn, repay as you earn. We're going to talk about those in depth here in a little bit. And then you have loans that were part of a federal program, but they're older loans and have not been included in PSLF, but they're loans that if you take the actions that we recommend, can be taken out of that and put into a correct direct loan. So if you hear people talking about FFEL loans, these are loans that just simply are older and need to be converted to new ones so that they can benefit. We did not assess anyone in this group as having any of these FFEL loans. So the way you qualify for PSLF is really simple. You have to make 120 payments while you're working in public service. And it's only one payment per month, so you can't double up on a payment and then get 2 credits. You have to be enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. That's what we're going to be discussing today, because that's something we want you to achieve first. And you have to have federal direct loans. So the other thing, so this would be the cheat sheet that I want you to have. I always recommend like laminate this, put it on your bathroom mirror, like have this always ready, because these are the 4 things that must be true at all times. So we're going to get to actually this top left quadrant in a second. But again, these are the details. You must have a direct loan. You must make 120 payments while working in public service, and you must be in a qualifying repayment plan. But here's what's crazy. The employer you work for, yes, the government knows where you work. I mean, obviously you file your taxes every year, right? But unfortunately, the government does not put that together with this program. You have to do that. The government does not know, for the purposes of this program, that you work in public service. So you actually have to tell them so that you can be participating in this program. So what we are going to be discussing that's going to be part of your action plan is certifying your employment every single year with Baptist Health. But for the purposes of this limited waiver and catching up to make sure you're getting full credit for it, we're going to have you certify all past employment as well. And I'm going to get to that in a second. Here's why we're here today. PSLF has always been amazing, but it's been a very hard program, very difficult for people to participate in. And the government in October of 2021 decided to fix that, but a temporary fix. They opened up a window, a 1-year window that's going to expire this October 2022, where they said, if you take actions to fix your loans that were not previously eligible, if you take action to get in an eligible repayment plan, one of those income-driven repayment plans, and if you certify your employment, then we are going to do a manual count of any of your time where you made any payments, whether it was a late payment, an on-time payment, the wrong repayment plan, it's not going to matter. We are going to manually count those. And so for some people that we have been seeing who would in normal times have 0 credits towards their 10 years are getting over 120 credits when this is all added up. And they're waking up to a 0 account balance in their student loans. It is incredible. incredible. Now, that's definitely not the majority of people. Majority of people we're finding has between 5 and 6 years. So that leaves 4 to 5 years left of repayment. Well, gosh, could you imagine if someone said to you, you only have 4 more years left to pay on your student loans, and then it's all going away, regardless of how much you have in student loans? That's incredible. That's the vision. So this limited waiver is going to close. This window is going to close, and it's not going to reopen. So we fully expect that the majority of Americans who would benefit from this waiver, who have these student loans, will who had the potential to benefit, will not benefit. That is an unfortunate reality. But because Baptist is so committed to this program and understands what kind of benefit this is going to have for employees, they are investing in you not missing this window. So when we are asking you to act, we want you to act, and we also want you to let us know when you have taken your action, because it's very, very important that we make sure that we're at 1,700 people who have asked for help at Baptist so far as of this recording. We need to make sure that we get everybody through this process so that you have the best chance of benefiting before that waiver period ends in October. Okay, now we're going to get to the action steps. So at this point, you might want to have your loan action plan open, and so you can be kind of following along with that. And so you can pause this recording, go grab that, and make sure that if there's anything confusing in there, maybe I'll be kind of explaining in a different way, so that you'll be able to feel empowered to take action. So if you're in track 2, this means that you have the right kind of loan. You have a direct loan already, and you have only 2 direct loans. You have a subsidized direct loan and an unsubsidized direct loan. So you're actually like way further the way down the road than most people. So congratulations, that's awesome. But what we determined is that before the COVID forbearance, where people haven't had to make payments, you were not in a qualifying repayment plan. So our goal with you is to fix that. And so to fix that, you have a process where you can choose a new repayment plan, which might sound silly because we're not in repayment right now. But think of this as choosing the repayment plan that you're going to be entering in January. Now, technically, you may not need to do this to qualify for the waiver. But the reason that we are doing this right now is we want to make sure that nothing stands in your way of getting the benefit of this limited waiver. And so we don't want the government saying, no, you're not enrolled in a qualifying repayment plan, and kicks the application out. So we want you to go ahead and get this done and then certify your employment. And we'll talk about how. So the first question is to PSLF or not to PSLF? So remember, if you're not working full-time and never have worked full-time, this program will not work for you. But if you're part-time right now, no, it doesn't work. But if you were full-time previously at Baptist Health, or if you're full-time at other organizations that are nonprofits, then you should go for this. We want you to go for this, because who knows, maybe if you get 5 years towards it, that maybe if you do go back to full-time work, then you can simply finish the rest of the years to get your forgiveness. So next, are you in the right repayment plan for PSLF? Chances are you're not. And here's what you might have been in. You might have been in a standard repayment. You might have been in the graduated repayment, or you might have been into the extended repayment plan. And the reason you might have been in them is they're typically the first options to choose from. Sometimes they're also the cheapest, but not always. Sometimes people just are guided into the first options because usually those are the best options when people put them forward. So we understand the confusion, but we want to make sure that you get into one of the income-driven repayment plans that's going to be eligible for PSLF, but also the lowest payment. So you can see here, repayee, payee, and IBR are probably going to be your best options. There's another income-driven repayment plan called income contingent repayment, ICR. That there will be some people that this will be your best payment option, but for most people, it is not. There's no blanket answer. I can't tell you that you're likely to do better with IBR than payee. I can't tell you that. So you need to do a little bit more of your homework by testing out, and there's actually a simulator you can use where you can test out which one of these is going to be the lowest payment option. I should point out here, why are we saying the lowest payment option? You might say, well, that doesn't seem responsible. I should be trying to pay down my loans. Well, in this case, your best financial plan with loan forgiveness is to have the most loans forgiven. So that means you need to pay the least amount possible. And so you want to find the repayment plan that's eligible, that has the least payment, the least, the lowest payment available to you. Okay. So first of all, you want to start with, are you going to even get a forgiveness benefit? So for some people, if they're just starting their PSLF journey and say maybe only have like $5,000 in student loans, but have, but make, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, they're probably not going to get benefit. But for a lot of you, even if you have a lower balance and a lower student loan balance, but you're going to be adding all of these years potentially from this limited waiver than you would have otherwise, we think it's worth it for folks to go ahead and just try and see how many years they have. And chances are they might not have the loan repaid by the time those 10 years are up, and will have loans forgiven. So we think for the most part, PSLF does end up, for most people, ending up, if you do it right over those 10 years, should have some forgiven, but it's definitely not going to work for everyone. And so we have on this slide some calculators that we can recommend that you use, particularly at studentaid.gov, where you can actually simulate what your loan would be. Now, we had a question the other day where someone did this loan simulation plan, and it showed that her loan would be paid off before the 10 years are up, like after 8 years in her case. But what we had to explain is our payment count, our estimated payment count for her, was that she had more than 8 years of credit towards the 10 years needed for PSLF. So she would only be making that payment for 2 more years, meaning that there indeed would be a benefit, even though the simulator was saying this would be paid off, within 8 years. Remember, the simulator does not know how many years you have towards PSLF, time in public service. It's assuming that you're starting from 0, and most of you are definitely not starting from 0. So don't be thrown off by that. All I want you to focus on is, what would your payment be? That is what I want you to focus on. What is going to be your lowest payment? Okay, so here's where you go. Now we're screenshotting here because we don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed here. So here's what it looks like when you go to studentaid.gov. You're going to log in, just like you had to log in to send us your TXT file. Thank you for doing that and persevering on that, by the way. So then you're going to go to the menu and choose to change your repayment plan. And so this is where you're going to set up an income-driven repayment plan and start estimating your payments. They actually want you to estimate your payments through this process anyway. Now, here's what's crazy. This is unbelievable, but the federal government actually has a little way to toggle that you want to see repayment plans. You can see it right here. Payments estimated under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. But then it shows repayment plans that are not eligible for PSLF. That is very confusing. So you can see here, standard, graduated, extended fixed, extended graduated. None of those are eligible. So make sure that you know what you're doing going into this. You have to absolutely know. I know because Aptus told me I cannot pick any of those repayment plan options. Okay, so we have shrunk down. These are the repayment plan options. And so these payments show a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money. Some people will have a payment that's $350, the size of a car payment, right? But we see a lot of folks that'll have a $10 payment, a $20 payment. So I hope you're not looking at this assuming that you're not going to be able to afford PSLF, because remember, it's driven by your income. It's not driven by your student loan balance. It's driven by your income. So if you're making $30,000 a year, you're not going to have a very high payment, okay? So when you finish up this process, if you are married, your spouse is going to have to sign off on this IDR plan. So there's going to be a process where they create their own identity at federal student aid, and then they will get an email requesting them to actually sign, or they will need to log in and sign off on you choosing this income-driven repayment plan. They are not in any way co-signing on this. They are just basically acknowledging that indeed you're choosing this plan and you're going to be paying a percentage of your income. Okay, that's the first step. So get that thing processed, get it started, and then I want you to move to certifying your employment. So luckily, you are working for an employer who knows what they are doing here. And so they have a very simple process where all you have to do is fill out the first page. They fill out the second page for you. That is incredible. And so we have in our email communications with you, we have attached one of these, a PDF version of this for you to print out, for you to fill out the first page, print it out, and then email it to Baptist. I'm going to talk a little bit about that to the payroll department. They're amazing. But I want to walk you through how to fill out this first page first. So you can see here, they ask for very normal information on the first page, but then this question always throws people off. So you need to check one of these three boxes, but it's really going to be one of the first two boxes. So if you're kind of new to this process, check box one. That means that you're just saying, look, I'm just starting the certification process. I'm going to be collecting however many credits I can get from this waiver. And then every single year, you're going to be recertifying your employment with Baptist Health until you get to the 10 years. If you have been in public service while you've had student loans for a decade or more, then you check box number 2. And that tells the government, hey, I think I'm going to qualify for immediate forgiveness. And so, perhaps they process that file a little bit faster. All right. Once you ask Baptist Health and your old employers to sign these certifications for you, they send them back to you, and then you are responsible for sending them to the government. Remember, this is you telling the government, I have worked in public service for these past 5 years, for these past 10 years. And maybe it was one employer, maybe it was 5 employers, but you're sending in a different certification form for all of these employers. Now, how do you send it in? If you are already at MOHELA, which is the servicer that actually does all of the processing for PSLF. So anybody going for PSLF is either already with MOHELA or will be transferred to MOHELA. If you are already a MOHELA client, then you simply upload this. Now, eventually you will be with MOHELA. Eventually you will always upload your certifications. And that is the absolute best way to send in a certification. But if you are not with MOHELA, let's say you're with Navient or Nelnet, and you have not been changed to MOHELA, this is maybe your first time doing a certification. When you turn in a certification, that actually triggers you to be transferred to MOHELA. So for this first time, you might have to jump through a little bit of hoops. That's okay, worth it. And you have all these other options. We recommend, based on just watching and keeping the pulse of people across the country and their experiences of these forms getting received and processed in a timely manner, it seems that sending this by mail, but more specifically by certified mail, is the best bet right now. So if you're not with MOHELA and you cannot do the document upload, the next best bet is to mail it in. So again, here is how we want you to do it. So first, for the PSLF form, we want you to send your first page completed form, and this is all in your action plan, to payroll@baptisthealth.org. And then the payroll department, after they process that form, they're going to send it back to you. And then, as we say here, the best way to submit is either upload it to MOHELA or send it certified mail. And then, and I'm going to talk about the other employers here in a second, and then watch for any communications that you might get from AidVantage, who is helping MOHELA process these forms, or MOHELA itself. So if you've previously worked in public service, then you're going to actually do something a little bit different for these certifications. StudentAid.gov actually has a help tool that will walk you step by step through answering a series of questions that will end up filling out that form for you. And then it spits out a PDF that you then send that PDF for signature at your previous employer. It's very important for you to understand that your previous employer cannot stamp a signature. They have to actually sign it with a wet signature. This thing will get sent back to you if it is a stamp. So once you get this back from your prior employers who are in public service, then you do the same process. You either upload it to MOHELA or you send it certified mail. Now, I want to say kind of a pro tip here. You need to be hearing back from your previous employers pretty quickly with these forms. We don't have any time to waste here with this looming deadline. And if there's a mistake, we want you to have time to fix it before this deadline. So we have heard that there have been some major delays in other employers signing these. So my best advice to you is to stay on top of it. If you send this in, follow up with a phone call. If you send this in, follow up with a phone call and don't hear anything for a week, you might need to follow back up. You need to make sure that you get this because it really is all of that time in employment will be simply gone potentially if you don't get this in before October. So please stay on top of it. So then from there on, every single year at Baptist Health, we want to make sure that you fill out the form the same way we just described. You fill out the front page, and then Baptist, the folks in payroll will fill out the second page, and then you will be able to upload it because you'll already be at MOHELA. You'll be able to upload it every year after that until you reach forgiveness. So I know all of this is overwhelming. I mean, we have talked a lot of jargon today, and I don't expect you to retain any of it. Mainly, we want you to take action. Please don't feel like you have to be an expert before you launch on this, because let me tell you, it has taken me a long time to become an expert on student loans, and you just don't have time for that. You need to take action, and we are leading you through that action. So your job is to make sure you understand the action that you are taking, and that you can understand that you need to be on top of it, so that if anything goes wrong, you contact the federal government, contact federal student aid, ask, did you receive this form? I've not heard anything back. So you need to be on top of all of this. Now, it can be confusing. What's normal? What's not normal? For instance, after you submit your certifications, chances are you're going to get a letter saying that you have 0 qualifying payments for PSLF, even though you might know you have 50 of them, 80 of them, or 120 of them. Don't worry, this is very normal. What is happening is this is an old process that has not been ended during this waiver process. So a few weeks after you receive that letter, the federal government will start the waiver process, where they will manually count any payments made while matched up with your certification forms with your public service. And then they will send you an updated letter with your updated payment count. So that's just one example of many things that could happen that are very confusing. Some of them are normal, some of them are abnormal. So we highly encourage you to join this Facebook group if you're on Facebook, maybe even join it just for this group. So this is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Public Program Support, or parentheses PSLF group on Facebook. You can search it once you get into Facebook and apply to join this group. It's not easy to join, but it's important for you to get in there because all the questions that you have been asked 1,000 times. So even though it's all very confusing, it all feels very, very personal and different. Remember, it's not. There are people across the country in the exact same situation as you, and you're going to find multiple versions of all of the issues that you are having already there, and you're going to find lots and lots of answers. So please, please, please join this group. In addition, please keep us informed as you go through this process. That's only going to help you. So we've already had so many Baptist Health employees take action on our action plan and just send us a quick email. Consolidated my loan. I changed my income driven repayment plan. I blah, blah, blah. So we are making notes of these actions. So if any questions arise, we know what you have done so far, and we can very, very quickly help you. So please consider us a partner in this. Now, we are not able to do individual counseling given the volume of people coming through this. The individualized work we've done is to analyze your text file, so we know the process that you need to follow. So what you will do from here is, if you have questions, you will always have a list of Q&A time and of office hour time. You can jump on and ask as many questions as you need during those periods of time. And we have an absolute incredible student loan expert, probably the foremost expert in this state. Her name is Janice Nottencamper. And she is the one who's going to be helping you with all this. And I'm telling you, what a resource that you have in her. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. I hope you'll take advantage of time with her. And most of all, folks, I want you to know that we are just as excited as you are for your loans going away. And you will see that when you see our celebrations, when you send us that email telling us my loans were forgiven. Folks, we can't wait for that. I know you can't wait for that. And we wish you the best of luck on this process. Thank you.